866-610-6397. And we'll start off the calls today with Yuri, who claims to be calling from Israel. Good morning, Yuri.
It's true, I promise.
Talk to me. Tell me what you're experiencing. Where in Israel are you?
So I live between Jerusalem and the city of Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled over on the side of the highway right there. So if you've driven from Jerusalem to the Dead Sea, so you've passed my town. That's where I live, a place called Mitzvah Yericho in Hebrew.
You're from South Florida but living in Israel?
Correct. I used to live in Boca, and I still teach on Zoom every day at Sheikh Hillel in Miami.
Explain what your weekend has been like. Is your family safe?
So we are safe. Thank God we're safe. Physically we are 100% safe. There's a lot of security. There's a lot of steps being taken to make sure that our town is safe. It's not just that where you live is a dangerous area and where you live is a safe area. Everybody is worried about some sort of infusion of armed militants or terrorists that will come in and attack. So there's a lot of security in every single place where people live. Our weekend was a weekend of hell. The news starts trickling in. Our town is Shabbat observant, so we don't use technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very big deal to use technology, and all of a sudden the word came out that everybody has to put on their phones, everybody has to take a gun, and make sure that they can protect their families. Nobody knew if their town was next. Nobody had any context to understand what was happening. It was a complete surprise. And it went from a festival. It was also not just a Shabbat day, but a festival day.
Yeah.
Where we celebrate once a year. And then it went from that to everybody bunkered down in their homes, not fully understanding what was happening.
What is your plan moving forward? Do you feel where you are is safe? I guess you're closer to Jordan than the northern coast of Israel. So I would hope you would be safer where you are, as you mentioned.
Right. So you got exactly. You know the map very well. So I'm about 10 minutes from the Jordanian border.
Okay.
I could see Jordan from my backyard. I always joke around that I'm the Sarah Palin of Israel. And
very good.
So I could see Jordan from my backyard, and we're relatively safe until somebody decides to do something. We're a 10-minute drive from Jericho, which is a city of 23,000 Palestinians.
Yeah.
Which had a Hamas satellite, opening this year. So it's safer than for sure in the war zone next to Gaza, but it's only as safe until somebody decides to do something. What
about militarily? What kind of military presence are you seeing where you are?
So we have soldiers constantly within our town and surrounding our town and doing patrols around our town. So that in that sense, you do see a lot of stepped up military presence. Just every single man under the age of 45 who's qualified to serve in the military. We're talking about 300,000 men. I saw the equivalent of 20 million American men.
Yeah,
it was what it would be like if this was in America. Were drafted into the army now, so they're not home. Their wives are home alone with their kids. Nobody has school. The schools are closed down, and everybody's essentially bunkered down. Waiting to see, and it's day by day. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
I asked Ted Deutsch this a little bit earlier, and I'm always interested in it whenever I speak to one of my friends or someone who has either lived in or is from Israel, because it's hard, I think, for Americans to comprehend the fact that Israel is a free, productive, happy society, very prosperous, but at the same time, you live with the threat of being surrounded by groups and countries that want to wipe you off the face of the earth. And so at any moment, whether it's you're at a restaurant, at a nightclub, at a family gathering, you have to be prepared to jump into a safe room or bomb shelter. Could you help explain that existence to an American who really has no clue what that's like?
You explained it very well. I don't know if I could do a much better job than that, but just imagine, when I lived in Florida, I'm not a Second Amendment, I have nothing against the Second Amendment, but I wasn't I didn't own a gun. Mm-hmm. I never owned a gun in my life until I came here, and I needed to buy a gun, and I wear it all the time. There's no difference in Israel between concealed carry and regular owning of a gun. If you have a license to carry a gun, you carry a gun. And the government encourages everybody to carry guns because at any moment you could be sitting at a restaurant Or now it seems like in your home, and a Palestinian terrorist could come into your home and try to kill your family. We're not talking about like they're aiming for soldiers. They were shooting elderly and little children. Little children. I mean, if you can imagine somebody aiming their gun at a little child and pulling the trigger with joy and glee on their face. That's what we experienced this weekend. So that's the life in Israel. But at the same time, you can't live like that every day, where that's a worry and a fear, where you'll be paralyzed. So you go about your normal life. You go out to restaurants. Israel has a huge food, culinary industry, and everybody loves going out to restaurants and bars and enjoying themselves. And in that sense, Tel Aviv looks like New York and Miami.
Yeah.
And Jerusalem looks like a more sacred type of that, but it has its restaurants and bars as well. So you're living sort of like this multi-dimensional life where you're always on guard on the one hand, but you have to live your life on the other.
Yuri, what prompted you to call and share your thoughts and your experience with us this morning?
So every once in a while, I like tuning into your show to hear what's going on in Florida. So I was driving home. I'll tell you a story where I was. I was driving home from the first soldier's funeral that took place. And during the funeral, there were sirens went off. They fired rockets at Jerusalem during the military funeral. And Manny, I have to tell you, I've heard sirens before. I've heard the booms of rockets go overhead. I really thought this was it. I really said my last words to God, and I said, okay, I'm ready to meet you. And I really thought this was going to be my final moments, and I needed something to relax and something to take my mind off of things. And so I decided on the way home to listen to your show, and then you had the call-in hours, and then Congressman Deutsch actually happens to be a good friend of mine.
Oh,
so you had him on, and I taught his children, and we're very good friends. We speak all the time, and I said, you know what, I'll call it, and he'll probably want to hear a firsthand account of what's happening here.
Well, what is it? Just before 7 o'clock there, the sun's getting ready to set.
Sun is set. It's dark out at the 6:45.
Well, get home, please. Stay safe. I hope you have something strong to drink, and please feel free to call anytime during the show. Would love to hear updates, and hopefully this will settle down quickly, and you'll all be okay. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuri. Yeah, got goosebumps. How do you put yourself in that situation? I don't think any American can understand what it is like. That's why I'm always fascinated by speaking to somebody who's there in Israel and having them verbalize their life. And I guess it's not a direct corollary, and I'll get to the rest of the calls in a moment. 866-610. Obviously, this isn't apples to apples, but many of us just made the judgment, you know what? I'm willing to risk potentially getting this disease while protecting myself, this virus, but I'm going to go out and live. I'm tired of being locked up. I can't live my life in fear every minute of getting infected with this virus. And that's really what they do every day in Israel until what we saw happen over the weekend. They go out and live their lives knowing that they've got to be prepared and they've got to weigh the potential threat against them and their lives at any moment's notice. And I really I thank Yuri for calling and sharing his thoughts with me and with you, our audience. And I hope he stays safe.